ensure the rights of the public have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies of which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this Act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Star Ledger and Express Times and submitted to the Town Clerk, Town of Belvidere, January 15th, 2018. Please rise for the flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Blum?
Here.
Mrs. Patino?
Here.
Dr. Tucker?
Here.
Mrs. Furman? Mr. LeVar?
Here.
Mr. Lucas? Mr. Matlock? Mr. McInerney?
Here.
Mr. Mitchell?
Here.
Mr. Rader? Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Stefan?
Here.
Sorry, I'm just silent. I just realized I didn't silence my phone. I apologize. We've reached the point in our agenda for our first public participation. Do we have any comments or questions from the public? Yes, Ms. Black.
Black, President of the BEA. When I look at personnel under 5A, approve additional hours for leave of absence, this is never negotiable.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Delaney Lilly. I work for the Student Government and I'm the treasurer of the freshman class. Hi, I'm Hickey. I'm a freshman and I'm a representative for Student Government. So as you may know, homecoming is next week and we have many fun activities planned. And any other additional information you want to know is all on the website, so if you want to know anything else, it's over there. Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. Mr. Tucker.
Walt Hutgate, 17 on Tacon Street. Just want to say thank you very much. It was posted. Board of Education meeting. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Correspondence?
I have two letters. The first is a maternity leave of absence request. This is from Megan Poyer, that she is commencing her leave on or about January 2nd, 2019, and her intent is to return to work May 1st of 2019. And the second is a letter to the board, the administration, staff, and community. April of 2014, I was appointed to the Belvidere Board of Education, filling a vacant seat. It was an honor that I never took lightly. I went on to run in the election to maintain my seat on the board. With the respect of the voters, I was honored to be elected and represent the stakeholders of the Belvidere School District. It is a true honor to give back to my alma mater and community. Belvidere High School instilled in me a sense of community, a passion of giving back and helping those who need it. While serving in the Board of Education, there have been many moments of heated discussion, disagreement, and emotion. I also experienced many moments of inspiration, laughter, and respect. No matter what the course of debate, one thing was consistent: each and every person's passion to make Belvidere the absolute best it can be. I want to thank each and every single member, administrator, staff member, and community member for having faith in me, helping me along my path, and inspiring me to not only be a better board member, but person. I have made many friends along the way, learned many life lessons, and have been inspired to always improve myself. Sadly, I have taken on new responsibilities that will make it hard for me to be an effective board member at this time. As a board member, I never want to feel I did not give my all to the district. Effective today, October 17th, 2018, I am resigning from my position on the Board of Education. Thank you all for your guidance and leadership. Deborah Furman.
I, for one, and I think probably I'll speak for the board, Deborah has an incredible passion and truly was very committed to improving the district. I don't think I would change one word in what she wrote, which is very, very articulate. And I'll miss her. I'll definitely miss her. I'll miss her passion and her commitment. I think we all will. I agree. So with that being said, we're going to need to spread the word that we'll be looking to fill a vacancy. And if we could, I guess a couple things, if we can make sure that it's on our sign board and maybe a call through our installer, putting it out to Belvidere residents.
We're in the you want to just jump into my report, because I was going to mention Deb.
Okay,
We're in kind of an odd spot because she was on the ballot but decided not to run this year.
mhm,
So her seat was technically going to be open anyway. So I don't know if we want to, for,
maybe we should wait.
for really one meeting,
Yeah,
because it'd be the December meeting.
you're right. I wasn't thinking about the
See-
timing.
Yeah, see how the election goes.
So that could be a write-in on the.
That could be a write-in.
Could be right in.
And
Yeah.
that's,
Yep.
Paying attention, we could have a write-in going on the ballot for the permanency.
yeah, you're right. It wouldn't make sense
Yeah,
to call it for
it'd
such
be
a
only for
short
one
duration. Right.
In that big meeting, we would appoint the person, and then they would just sit. So we'll see what the results of the election will be, which we'll have prior to the next meeting, and probably have some guidance from that.
Yeah, and we'll proceed from there. That makes sense, Chris.
Yeah.
I agree.
Okay, so I'll just carry on my report. I just want to mention Deb also. I did speak with Deb this morning. Again, she kind of told me what was going to be in the letter, and I do agree. She was an excellent board member. Questioned things that needed to be questioned, and I always felt her intention was always for the best of the students of this district, and she will be missed. I do want to mention that, and I did send an email to the board last week. We are fully approved for our preschool. We're very excited about that. We got the word last Friday. So we have every intention of beginning our preschool January the 2nd, which is right after the holiday break. We are in the process of trying to get the word out into the community and to get our 15 students that we need. Mr. Karabinas did meet this morning with Little Cedars and had a conversation over there. We're going to try to work some transportation out so they can do some before and after care, and we'll try to get the kids back. So very excited about this prospect for preschool. We'll be housed in Oxford Street. We'll be advertising for preschool teacher, I believe, as early as tomorrow. And we're just excited that we got the go-ahead from the state. That was some great news that we got from them. I will mention, I know there's probably some questions about the funding moving forward. It is my understanding that the state of New Jersey intends to fully fund the program for the foreseeable future. Again, I use the word intends because we all know how intentions go when it comes to the state funding things. But at least I would imagine for the next few years, it'll definitely be covered by the state. Chris and I will be on a conference call with representatives from the state next, I think it's next Thursday. I want to say the 26th. Or is that Friday? But we'll be having a conversation. Some of those questions will be answered fully. But we are all systems go at this point.
Okay.
I wanted to bring attention to the board. I don't know if everybody gets the School Leader magazine. It's a New Jersey School Boards Association publication. I was flipping through it on Friday of last week. There's 3 excellent articles in here. There's actually more than 3, but there's one, and we just talked about this previously on non-college bound learners and how to service those students, career-focused students, as we're not calling them. So that's an excellent article. There's also one on educational foundations and best practices of educational foundations, which is obviously a timely conversation. And there's also one on labor relations from the school board's point of view and what the sunset, of Chapter 78 means for negotiations. So if you don't get it, let me know, and I'll be happy to make copies of the articles for you. If you do get it, take some time and look through this. It's really, really worth the time and effort to go through that. I think it's helpful to the board.
Agreed.
Tonight, before this meeting, we had our first meeting of the Instructional Council. I personally thought it was an excellent meeting, very focused meeting. The association presented 3 topics of discussion, and I thought we had a very lively conversation, good open communication, and we set a meeting date again for early December with some topics already we're going to discuss, and look forward to having that meeting on a regular basis. I think it was very productive.
Can you elaborate on the 3 topics?
Yeah, we talked about, well, one was a school employee, so I don't want to mention the person, the Officer Riley. Second was mentoring plans. Yep. Yep. And curriculum, philosophy of curriculum.
Oh, good.
So it was
Very
good. And we also touched upon articulation within curriculum and where we see that program going as well. So it was a very, very good conversation. Last week, might be 2 weeks ago now, last week we met ad hoc committee, Mr. Blum's committee, which we renamed the enrollment committee. Again, my opinion was that it was an excellent meeting. I actually think everybody that was at that meeting is sitting in the room right now. I thought we had a really good, productive conversation. We're going to meet again on October 30th. We all have some tasks to take care of, but just to really look at where we are enrollment-wise and where we're going in the future. So compliments to Mr. Blum, put together a nice agenda, and it was a very, very good meeting.
Will meeting minutes come out with the next package?
The meeting, yeah, that was on me. I said I would do that and haven't.
That's
haven't
okay.
had a chance to
Have,
do it.
and with the, also with the articulate, with
Instructional council.
instructional council as well?
Absolutely.
Good.
I heard over the announcements the other day, I'm hoping Ms. Schnauzer can help me out on this, but Faith Blanchard, Special Olympics Athlete of the Year
For Region 3, which is
for our region. So I want to congratulate Faith.
That's awesome.
I was blown away by that, and it's a huge honor. And,
you know, athletes are nominated.
Yep.
And she was the chosen athlete of the year.
yeah. So we're really proud of Faith and everything she does, and it's just a great accomplishment for her. So congratulations to her. The next one, which is completely non-sequential, is the changes to park finally came out. We are no longer going to use the term park. We are going to now call them the New Jersey Student Learning Assessments. One for English Language Arts and one for math. The biggest change affects the high school, where the students will now have to pass Algebra 1 and English Language Arts 10. If you pass Algebra 1 in 8th grade, you have to pass Algebra 2. If you pass Algebra 2 in 8th grade, because there are some students that do that, we currently have no guidance on what to do with those students. But it'll be interesting. The probably most significant change from our point of view is that in order for a student to be considered for any alternative, because they're still going to have the ORs, as I always like to call them, the student has to sit for a test, can't opt out and then be moved into the ORs. From the 3rd to the 8th grade levels in math and English Language Arts, it's just a lessening of the amount of time the kids will be sitting for the test, mostly an hour, but in certain grade levels, 90 minutes. So some significant tests that'll be passed by the state school board sometime over the next 2 weeks, and will go into effect in the spring.
Does that apply also for a student who's classified?
Yes.
They would still have to sit for the test?
Yeah, and then depending on the classification, we have distance learning maps too, which go into effect too. But
DLMs, yeah? Yeah.
But yes, so right now that's the guidance we're getting from the state.
Okay.
So hopefully that'll be a positive change. I know Park had a lot of negativity. New Jersey has disassociated itself with Park and the Common Core Consortium. So we're focused on New Jersey student learning standards now. So I think it's a big change, and I think a positive one as well. I was going to mention homecoming next week too, and the ladies did a fine job of doing that in my place, so thank you. So we do have all our homecoming activities next week, culminating in the football game next Friday, playing New Providence. So hope to see everybody there. If you're looking for a great presentation, I know Doc and Mr. Blum will be down at school boards next week, 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Mr. Lazare, myself, and some other local high school folks will be talking about the dual enrollment with Centenary for that social media class. So hope to see you there. We'll be down at school boards next week, so if there's any topics you'd like us to take a look at, feel free to shoot them to me, and we'll do our best to try to look at stuff like that. One question that came up over the weekend was the agriculture trip FFA trip to Indianapolis, where they're going again next week to compete at the national level. Mr. Lay is going. We did approve him back in July as a volunteer, and he is going. All his costs will be paid by the FFA group, so no cost to the board. So just wanted to make sure everybody understood that. We didn't feel sending a first-year teacher out to Indianapolis with 100,000 people was a great idea. We asked Mr. Lay to go to help out, and he's gladly going. Yeah. And then the last two things I have is Ms. Black is right. We did not negotiate 5A, so maybe we could table that for the next meeting. And then secondly, just please note that there is an executive session at the end of the meeting, which is part of the add-ons. And that's my LinkedIn report. Oh, yep. And Honor Society induction, National Honor Society induction is the 30th. Tuesday the 30th at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. Hope everybody can come out and make it. It's a great evening. Special guest speaker this year is none other than Officer Riley. So, looking forward to that.
Questions? Can we get a motion and a second on policy item 1?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? Brian, this is second reading. Is there anything you want to add?
No.
No?
Good to go.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? On personnel, 2 through 5C, but we're tabling 5A.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion.
Number 5, volunteer coaches. No one with any children in the program. Yeah, I figured you recognize all the names there.
The preemptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay, I'm glad you thought of me.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
Mrs. Pacino?
Yes.
Dr. Zeppel?
Yes.
Mr. LeVar?
Yes.
Mr. McInerney?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Stefan?
Yes.
On education, items 6 through 10, and we have additions to item 9. Can we get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion?
Item 13B.
I don't think yeah, we're not there yet, Bob.
Okay, I'm ahead of myself.
That's okay. Any questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I abstain from B,
Under business, and we have a revision here too. So it's items 11 through 13A. Can we get a motion in a second?
We have a 13B.
13C. Oh, I stand corrected. Thank you. 13.
13C. 13D will be later, is that it?
Correct.
Okay. So we're doing 11 through 13C on the motion.
Motion.
Second.
Discussion. Bob, I think you had a question.
Yes, 13B, the larger field trips, what are they for?
I have to go back and cross-reference them. So for the most part, the approved field trips in number 9, that's a combination of all of the busing that GST is doing for us. Mr. Staples, any chance you have a breakdown of who's using which buses when for the field trips? Can you tell us who's got the GST runs? Yeah. We're just, it's asking specific, it just says location, Phillipsburg, Montclair, Belvidere, Jersey City, New Brunswick, Branchville, and Allentown, PA for a cost of $33.57.
We quote out all of the field trips together and then group them by company of which one has the lowest.
So
lowest
it
quote.
it's kind of a batch bid.
So it's a complete batch of all the field trips.
Okay.
Any other questions? On the computers, so approximately how old are these computers? I'm just curious.
Eric, how old are the computers we're donating out? Oh, Windows 7. So it's probably at least 10 years old. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Sean, getting back to the field trip, the only discrepancy I see how they're batched, right? You reference back to item 9, but item 9 ends, the last date is 5/10, but the
I see it's
13B has some dates after May 10th, right? So that's the only tweak. It's not a complete match, in other words.
Right.
You know what that is, and I can tell you what that is. I think it might be the senior trip, which we've already previously approved. But I'm not 100% on that. I have to go back and look. But it's your point.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain on 13B.
You good, Sean? Continuing business? From last time, you already reported out in your report about the ad hoc committee, which is now being referred to as the enrollment committee.
Correct.
Any other activity related to other grants that Mr. Riley is potentially pursuing around school security?
He has submitted a couple, and to them in general term. He's pretty much almost weekly putting something together
Yes.
for us. He's been on top of everything. We haven't gotten anything positively back yet.
Does he, and maybe he has this experience from his previous law enforcement experience as chief, does he have experience with writing grants?
He does. In fact, he's been writing grants for the fire company as well.
Okay.
So he's kind of almost been doing it at the same time.
So he's not he doesn't feel that he needs any training around grant writing, or just
I asked him that. He didn't seem to think so. He's done a pretty good job. The one that he was disappointed we didn't get was more of just a funding issue, not necessarily really grant.
There's a lot of people competing for
Yep,
security
exactly.
grants right now. Yeah, everyone's going after them. So,
That's very true.
yeah. Anything else on continuing business? Any new business?
I will mention a new business when you bring up security. We had an unannounced drill,
Oh, right. Right.
which I actually just got the results back this afternoon. So on October the 2nd, the state of New Jersey, the gentleman who works for the state of New Jersey and a few state troopers came in and asked us to just, without any warning, the only person who really knew about it was myself and Dennis, got wind of it down the road, to go into lockdown and to see how everybody reacts. We actually were able to, some of the staff members that were on their prep period, we invited them in to kind of see the process from the law enforcement point of view, which I think was eye-opening. Not surprisingly, we got excellent reviews in what we do. Very few issues along the way, most which was very easily addressable. And then we actually went down to the 3rd Street too, which is always a little dicey with the little ones when you just throw them in a lockdown. But again, did very well, and a lot of that has to do with a lot of the security procedures that Dennis has put in place. So the report when it came back there was very positive.
Good.
They were looking for things to look for
Sure.
in what we do wrong. So
Any questions on that? The one thing you mentioned about 3rd Street, and I know I brought this up at one point, can we take a look at the sign down there I think that sign could stand a little refresher.
Yeah.
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 Though also, just to mention too, should have put this in my report. We've had some issues with the way the fencing is around 3rd Street, and there's obviously in I'll call it the back part of it. It's open there, and people can come in and out. We have a fencing coming in, hopefully starting as early as next week, weather dependent, to finish off and fence off
Okay.
the whole property.
That's important.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So.
Any other questions? I know on Education Foundation, you said you're going to have more on that, I think, in December.
Correct.
So, okay, so we'll just let that be for now.
Yep.
Anything else? Questions? Okay, we do have an executive session. Do you talk about a HIB? Is that it?
There are no grievance discussion as
So
well.
personnel and a HIB.
Yep.
Okay. Can we get a motion and a second to go into?
Did we have another public session or not?
What's that?
We did not.
Did we have another public?
Did you want to do a public?
Oh, we can do the public before. Yeah, thank you. That makes perfect sense. So before we are going to have an executive session. We will be taking action after
We'll be taking.
But before we go into executive session, as a courtesy to the public, we're going to do the second public. So we're going to jump the agenda, do the second public session now. So are there any questions from the public this evening? Angela. Yeah.
All of the support you've given to the cheerleading team, and just so you know, we're up to 29 girls. So I know when I asked for 30 uniforms, you probably were like, heck, but we do have 29 girls, and one more wants to come. So it is growing, and thank you for your support with that. And I know a lot of you feel one way or the other, but the program is growing, and they know that they have your support, and it really means a lot to them. The second thing is, as a mom, is how would a parent address the board, like not necessarily in public, if it has to do with a student issue?
Have you gone through the chain of command with the building principal? I would suggest that, and Chris, I don't know, maybe you want to speak to that, but certainly it's important to let the administrators do their job first. So if you've talked to the building principal and if you talk to the superintendent,
We have not spoken.
No, not yet.
and then I would suggest you go that route first. And then if you feel that you can't resolve whatever the issue is, then come back to the board.
Okay.
Do you agree?
I just didn't know what.
Through how
to do
though?
next.
Through Chris? Just so she understands.
Yeah, so the first things first though, make an appointment, speak with Chris.
Okay,
Well, I know what your question is, so we'll talk about it when we talk.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the public or questions from the public? Okay, do we have a motion and a second for executive?
Motion.
Second.
It is hereby resolved the board will now go into private session to discuss an HIB and personnel matter. Any discussion held by the board that need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the private session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the closed session, and we will be taking action.
Correct. Miss somebody?
I think we got everybody else.
7.
Yeah. Okay, reconvene in public. Do we have a motion and a second on item 13D to approve the HIP findings?
Motion.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to accept the
Oh.
resignation.
I keep forgetting that. Thank you for keeping me on. Do we have maybe I don't really want to accept her resignation. Do we have a motion to accept Deborah Furman's resignation from the Board of Education?
Motion.
Second?
Second. Someone open it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Very good.